Okay, now we have come to part 2, formation of the contract in CISG. In this section, we will deal with issues concerning offer, acceptance and rejection of an offer. An offer is a proposal for concluding a contract. There are 3 basic requirements for an effective offer. First, it must be addressed to one or more specific persons. If such a proposal is not addressed to a specific person, it's only an invitation to make an offer, unless the person clearly indicates that this is an offer. Second, it must be sufficiently definite. If a proposal indicates the goods and fixes provisions for quantity and prices, then it's sufficiently definite. For example, I fix a condition that the price is to be decided by the following factor. If it's raining at the time of delivery, the price will be $20 per unit. But if it's sunny, the price will be $22 per unit. Third, it must have an indication that the offer will be binding if it's accepted. Let's have a look at 2 examples that are not consumer sales. Suppose you are sending the following letter. Dear staff of XYZ Corporation, thank you for being our valued customers. We have some goods for clearance. The quantity and prices are listed in the catalog enclosed in this letter. In this example, the letter is an offer. In the second example, X offers to make and sell school uniforms featuring unique school logos to Y. Before any agreement is reached on size, quality, style, or price, you may decide not to continue. At this stage, there is no definite offer for Y to accept until the essential terms of the bargain have been decided. An offeror extends an offer. Once the offer reaches the offeree, it becomes effective. There are 2 circumstances in which the offer can be withdrawn or revoked. First, the offeror can withdraw the offer before or at the same time it reaches the offeree, even if the offer clearly indicates that it's irrevocable. Second, the offeror can revoke the offer before it's accepted. Here, withdraw means to pull something back, to pull the offer back. Revoke means to cancel or invalidate the offer. In some circumstances, an offer cannot be revoked. First, if it states a fixed time for acceptance. Second, if it states it's irrevocable. But this should be interpreted within a reasonable period. For example, I offer to sell you my goods and state my offer is irrevocable. You cannot extend this period for a 10-year period. You cannot argue my offer is irrevocable 10 years later. In 10 years' time, many conditions may be completely changed, right? Third, if the offeree reasonably believes the offer is irrevocable and has acted relying on the offer. Even if an offer is irrevocable, the offer is terminated when a rejection reaches the offerer. That once you reject my irrevocable offer, then my offer is terminated. For the period of time for acceptance, Official holidays and non-business days are included in calculating the period. However, for a notice of acceptance, if the last date at the place of business of the offerer is not a business day, and as a result, the acceptance cannot be delivered, then the period is extended to the next first business day. For example, there are 30 days for acceptance of the offer. The last day of acceptance is October the 22nd, 2017. That is a Sunday. Then the acceptance date is extended to October the 23rd, 2017, which is Monday. Once the indication of assent reaches the offerer, an acceptance becomes effective at that moment. A contract is accordingly concluded. The time of conclusion of a contract is very important in deciding many matters in the CISG. It's noteworthy that silence or inactivity cannot constitute acceptance. For example, in the offer, you cannot state, if you don't respond to this offer within, for example, 7 days, you are deemed to accept this offer. No, that's not acceptable. If the acceptance does not reach the offerer within the time limit or within a reasonable time, it's not an effective acceptance either. Let me give an example. I indicated the last acceptance date was 3 days ago. However, I received your acceptance today. Then your acceptance is not an effective acceptance because it's late. However, there are two unique scenarios. First, an oral offer requires immediate acceptance unless circumstances indicate otherwise. For example, I stated I can sell these goods to you for $100. You can consider it and give me an acceptance within 3 days if you like them. Then you don't need to give me an immediate acceptance. Second, the parties can also follow established practice or usage. Here, usage means some firmly established and generally accepted practices or procedure. We have explained this terminology before. Facing an offer, if you clearly stated, no, I don't accept that, then obviously that's a rejection. What if you stated, I in principle agree with the offer, but can we renegotiate on Article ABC or items XYZ? Such a purported acceptance actually is a rejection, because it has already materially changed the terms of the offer. If you have additional or different terms relating to the price, payment, quality or quantity of the goods, place or time of delivery, extent of one party's liability to the other, or the settlement of disputes, then you are considered to have materially altered the terms of the offer. For example, A extended an offer to sell B the goods, but stated, the buyer is responsible for delivery. B responded, you must deliver the goods to my warehouse. Then that's a material alteration and not an acceptance. If an acceptance does not materially change the terms of the offer, it is still an acceptance. However, if the offerer objects without due delay, then that's not an acceptance. For example, suppose the offeree responded, "Could you please change the color of package from red to black? Could you please add the logo of my company to the package?" If the offerer didn't object without due delay, then that is an effective acceptance, and such non-material modifications are included in the contract. However, if the offerer objects, "Sorry, we are not able to change the packaging," then the offeree's acceptance is not an effective acceptance. That's a rejection. In the context of late acceptance, if within a reasonable period the offerer informs the offeree, either orally or by dispatching a notice, that the acceptance is effective, then the offeree's acceptance is still effective even though it's late. For example, suppose I extend an offer to you. You give me an acceptance, a late acceptance. If I inform you within a reasonable period that your acceptance is effective, then your acceptance is effective even though it's late. But if I don't do anything, then your acceptance is not effective. For example, suppose I extend an offer to you and you give me a late acceptance. If its transmission is normal, it will reach me today, the last date of acceptance. However, because of a storm, the post system is closed today and tomorrow. Therefore, I receive that acceptance 2 days later. That is the day after tomorrow. If I inform you the acceptance is not effective, then your acceptance is not effective. However, if I don't do anything, then your acceptance is still effective. There are several methods of delivering an offer and acceptance or rejection. It can be made orally. It can also be delivered by any other means to a specific person or organization, or to the place of business, mailing address, or habitual residence. Writing, in the context of the CISG, include telegram and telex. I have never used these two methods of communication. Fax and email were not predicted when the convention was drafted, and therefore are not included in the convention. However, if the parties wish to permit or prohibit fax and email as a means of written communication, they should eliminate doubt by putting a clear stipulation in the contract. For example, for the purpose of this agreement and the Convention on Contract for the International Sale of Goods, unless otherwise specified in this contract, writing includes telegram, telex, fax, and email. Alternatively, you can also specify that writing excludes fax and email.